let's look at mastering your guest reviews in Homhero, some strategies for 5-star success. If you don't know me, my name is Tatiana. You can see it there on the screen. It is spelt a little differently than it's pronounced, so you may have seen my name on emails or spoken to me on the phone and maybe not put two and two together. I am the same person. Nice to meet you if we haven't met before. And today I'll be taking you through some reviews in Homhero, how you can manage those, and some really good tips on getting more reviews and higher quality as well. There is a Q&A box available, so I will open that up at the end of the session. If you do think of anything during the session, feel free to drop it there. I'll try to answer some at the end, but just so you know, I won't see them throughout the session. You can choose to submit them anonymously, but if you want to submit them without being anonymous, that way I can reach out to you afterwards in case I don't get to it. I won't say out your name on the webinar or anything like that, don't worry. Cool, so looking at the topics that we're going to cover today, we will look at setting up automated correspondence for key touch points. Now, I won't go into massive detail on this because my last webinar was for correspondence as well. This is more about what the key touch points are and what you can send at certain times, rather than actually how to schedule those. We'll also look at how you can flag bad guests in Homhero, which is a reasonably new feature, and then where that sort of feeds through to in other areas of Homhero. We'll also look at how to customize your review questions. So that would be for your direct website. You may not know that those questions that are built in can be changed if you need them to. Then we'll look at where you can actually find your reviews in Homhero. Now we do have guest reviews and host reviews as well. So not just the reviews that your guests have left for you, but also the reviews that you can leave for your Airbnb guests. We also have the new feature there, how to bulk submit your host reviews for a good guess, which will save you a lot of time. And then right at the end, of course, Q&A, depending on how much time we have, you can ask me some questions if you have them. Lovely. So we obviously had a huge interest in this webinar for reviews. They're essential in the industry. Your quality of reviews and your quantity of reviews can really build trust and boost your listings in the algorithms to bring you some more bookings. So it's understandable that we had a lot of people interested in this one. And while your property standards are obviously a big part of your reviews, it's actually about the entire experience that you provide to your guests right from the time of booking. So today I'm not going to be helping you with cleaning or maintaining your properties, obviously. I can't do that from here, but I can help you with your guest experience, how you can use Homhero to really improve that part of your guest experience. So we'll start right at the beginning. This is your first impression of that you give to your guests right at the time of booking. So this is your first chance to really make a real impact. Great customer service is not just asking if there's anything that you can do to help. If you really understand the key touch points during a guest journey, you can provide them with the information that they need before they even need to think about asking you that. Like I mentioned, I won't go into detail about how to set up your correspondence or your confirmation. So we did look at that in the previous webinar if you want to go back and take a look or check out our articles. But your confirmation, it should be obviously sent at the time of booking to reassure your guests that the booking has been received and to then set expectations for the rest of their journey. So that should include information like your payment policy, your cancellation policy, and when they can expect to receive the access instructions for the property. Rather than them having to reach out to you to ask those things, you already know that that's something they're going to want to know, so setting that out at the right time can save them that frustration. You can also at this time proactively answer any questions that you often get from your guests. You will know your guest journey better than I do. It will differ between you a lot. But for example, you might often get asked if there's any beach towels at the property. So having an FAQ in your confirmation of what's provided or what's in the area, that sort of thing, can answer those questions for the guest to streamline their stay and improve their experience rather than them needing to ask you to get that information. We also know that on Airbnb, your algorithm favors listings that respond within 24 hours of the booking being made. So if you're currently sending your confirmation only via email, I highly recommend that you do update that to send via Airbnb messaging as well. That will impact your algorithm there. Cool, so that's your time of booking, your first impression, your confirmation that goes out to the guest. The next one to think about would be your pre-arrival. So as they get closer to their stay, maybe around the 7 days before arrival, depending on your guests, they're likely starting to think in a little bit more detail about their trip. So again, we can use that opportunity to proactively reach out and answer any common questions that they have at this time. So that can really help resolve any issues before they even appear. For example, if you only provide a starter pack of amenities in your property and the guests should think about bringing some other amenities with them, it's a good time to let them know so that they can plan their trip rather than getting into the property after a big day of travel, maybe with kids, and then getting really disappointed that the stuff is not in there. Reach out to them before arrival, set the expectation what is in there, and maybe even let them know, hey, this is where your closest supermarket is, or this is where you can get hire equipment. For example, we don't provide beach towels, but you can hire them from this place down the road. Um, at this time, you might also like to check what time they're planning to arrive at the property, especially if you can arrange early arrivals for your guests. Like I mentioned, with kids traveling, it's a lot to handle. If they can get into the property early, that would be great. So checking in with them to see, hey, what time are you arriving? And either arriving an early check-in if you can, or letting them know how they can get into the property if they're arriving late, for example. And then just remind them when they are going to receive those access instructions as well. If you are sending them, for example, on the day of arrival, that might save the questions that you get the day before arrival. Hey, we're arriving tomorrow, where's our access instructions? So reaching out proactively before your guests ask you those questions can help with that experience as well. Cool. Then post arrival. So our communication with guests doesn't stop once they arrive. Your post arrival check is a really vital touch point to make sure that they are enjoying their stay. Everything is up to standard. So at the moment, if you're not hearing from your guests during their stay, you might assume that everything's going really well. But a lot of guests will really avoid reaching out about small issues that they might be having. And then later on, either leave an average review or maybe not even review you at all. So by proactively reaching out, you can give yourself the opportunity to rectify any of those issues that you might not hear about otherwise. Again, you can be really specific here instead of just asking if there's anything else that you can do to help. The guest might not feel comfortable to let you know about any small issues. So you can give them examples and even emphasize that you're striving for a 5-star service here. Really put that in your message in advance. You know, we want to give you a 5-star experience, and that sort of plants that seed in their head. So you can say things like, if your cleaning is not up to scratch, if you're missing any amenities, or if you're in need any assistance with appliances, please let us know. Rather than leaving it up to them to think, oh, do I bother my host? The stay was okay. Give them examples, let them know that you can help with those things and that you are available. There's another one that I don't have in the slide here, and that's pre-departure. That's because I find this is quite dependent on the length of stay. We don't want to over communicate with our guests either, especially if they are quite short bookings. So if your guests usually only stay, 3 or 4 nights, you might consider putting your pre-departure information within your pre-arrival, or even in a compendium in the property or an online guidebook or something like that. If you do host stays that are 5 nights or longer most of the time, it might be worth putting in an extra touch point here, your pre-departure, just to remind them of what the checkout instructions are so they don't have to go searching through their previous correspondence to find that. You could even let them know what to expect for bond release, because that can be quite a common question as soon as they depart as well. When do we get our bond back? Cool. And then post-departure. Now, there's actually quite a few here, which we tend to forget once the reservation is done, they've departed. that's sort of over and done with, but it's not the case. There's quite a few things to consider. So if it is an Airbnb guest, we mentioned that you can then review them on Airbnb. So that would be one touch point there. You can also request a review from your guests. Now, this is not just for Airbnb. Obviously, you can request reviews from all of your OTAs and even your direct and website bookings as well. And then in that request, like I mentioned earlier about the bond release, you might want to also include that in this message as well. That can sort of put them in a better frame of mind to leave you positive feedback. If you're saying things like, hey, thanks for your stay, your bond has been released, we hope that you can leave us a review or something like that. Put that all into one correspondence. Um, For your OTA bookings, they obviously have their own review platforms, so you can ask them to review you there. For your website and your direct bookings, you can ask for a review on your website. I mentioned earlier that you can customize these questions. So Homhero has a built-in review form available, which can be customized, and you can include a merge field in your correspondence, which takes them directly to the review page. I'll show you shortly how you can customize those questions because that can be a really good change as well in your review process. Then when you do receive a review, you can set up a schedule to either notify yourself or thank the guest. Or if it's a negative one as well, you can maybe flag that and say, hey, this has gone to a manager for review. So I mentioned I won't show you much about schedules today, but I will briefly show you that filter that you can set up for your review score. So if you are getting a negative review, how you can instantly address that, and a positive review as well, how you can maybe get some more direct bookings out of them or get them to sign up to your newsletter, that sort of thing. An automated message at that time can be really handy. Again, you have got your reviews once they are received to also respond to those reviews, both good and bad. So unfortunately, we can't completely avoid negative reviews, but the way that you handle them can really change the impact that they have. Giving a professional response to a negative review can show your future guests that you take that feedback seriously and you're committed to improvement and addressing any issues. So that can actually build more trust there rather than just leaving a negative review on your listing. A lot of these messages that we've discussed throughout these touch points are all automated, but there might be some guests that you don't want to receive those automations. So there's two ways that you can prevent them from sending, and I will show you both today. Firstly, there is the option to remove a specific schedule on an individual reservation. So you might use this, for example, if the guest has already reached out once they check in, and you don't want them to send that post-arrival check, you could remove that on the reservation specifically. The other one is maybe you've got schedules that you only want to go to your good guests. So all of your guests are good by default, and I'll show you shortly how you can flag a guest as a bad guest so that they don't receive certain schedules. For example, your review request, if you are saying, hey, your bond has been released, we would like a review from you, you probably don't want to send that to anyone you've marked as a bad guest. Cool. I will just exit out of here before we jump into our Q&A session. That's the next slide. I will jump into Homhero there so we can look at some of these other items. So I mentioned that I won't show you much of the correspondence, but I will briefly show you that good guest, bad guest feature and how you can use that in your correspondence. I've got a reservation already prepared here, which we can open up, and I have tagged it as a bad guest. So on any reservation that you open up, you might have already seen this option down the bottom right called bad guest. This will be off by default. I've turned it on in this case and then left a note why I've given that guest a bad rating. This doesn't notify the guest or anything once you toggle that on, It also doesn't automatically submit a review or anything, and it doesn't actually carry over to future reservations under that name either. It is specific to this reservation. And at this stage, it's mostly used for your schedules, like I mentioned. You can exclude them from schedules, as well as the bulk submit host reviews, which I will get to later on. So if you do have a bad guest, you can toggle them on here, leave any comments. Then if you're wanting to exclude certain schedules from this guest, so it doesn't have to be a bad guest, it could be a good guest that's checked in, they've told you what they need help with, and now you don't need to send them the post-arrival check. You might want to remove that schedule. So in the reservation, if you go to the correspondence tab and then the schedule status, here's all of the schedules that are set up for this booking. If you don't want them to receive this one, for example, we'll remove the one that says thanks for booking. We can click on the red trash icon here that says cancel schedule. Are you sure you want to cancel? Yes. And you'll see that it is cancelled. I just did that one earlier as well. You'll see that's now cancelled, so this guest won't receive it. Even though they meet all of those other filters, you don't want them to receive this one. So that's the two ways that you can remove your guests from receiving certain correspondence that might help you with your touch points and your review score. Cool. What I will do is show you the schedules as well, the filters for that bad guest. I'll exit out of here, and if we go into correspondence and then schedules, you'll see I've set up two examples up here. So I've got one called review request. Actually, I'll just briefly show you the email template. You'll see in here the email that is going out to our guest. This is that merge field that I mentioned would be, it would take them directly to your website to leave that review. So just so you know what that merge field looks like, it is available in there under review. In the filters tab, this is the one that I wanted to show you here. There is a filter up here called guest type. So we have ours set up to only go to our good guests, which means that that reservation that I flagged earlier as a bad guest, they won't receive this request at all. So I've set that up to go 2 days after departure. So that's only for good guests. The other schedule example that I want to show you, I mentioned that you could set one up based on the review score. So if you want to, for example, flag a manager as soon as you get a bad score, and let the guest know that their feedback has been received, you could set that up. So here's an example here of bad review. I have got mine set to the guest as well as to an admin. So I've selected myself here. As soon as that booking leaves a bad review, it's going to send it to both of us. It's going to say, for example, we're sorry to hear that your stay was not up to standard. Your feedback has been sent to management and they'll be in contact shortly. So that's an instant message that will go out to them to let them know that their feedback has really been heard. It's been noticed straight away and that you would like to discuss it further with them. And then that will flag with the manager as well. So you'll want to put in reservation details so that your manager knows which booking that was. I've got the booking ID, guest name, and listing name in there. So to set that one up in your filters, I've got that set as if it's a review rating less than 3 stars, for example. So as soon as they leave that review, as long as it's within 30 days of their departure, I think most, especially your bad reviews, are going to come in pretty quickly after departure. So as long as it's within 30 days of departure, as soon as there's a review and it's less than 3 stars, it's going to trigger this schedule. So those are your two filters that you can really use to your advantage here. Now, of course, you can do the opposite as well. You can do reviews greater than a certain score. If you wanted to thank them for their feedback, provide a discount code for the next stay, and maybe ask them if they want to sign up to your newsletter for other exclusive offers, that sort of thing. And that does work for your OTA bookings as well. That's not just your direct bookings. You can automate a message to go out and thank everyone for their good reviews. Cool. Close that one down. Before we get further into actually finding your reviews in Homhero, I do want to show you how to customize those review questions for your direct website. So that will be under your property management section here in Homehero. Up the top here, you have got areas. This is your default tab that it usually goes to, which is all of your areas or houses. Then you've got your properties tab. So this is sort of your default settings for your account. Yours will have your company name here. So if we double click to edit this one and then go to our booking fields, this is where our review questions live. If you haven't looked at these before, you probably have got the default ones in here, which will be things like value, cleanliness, accuracy. You might even have some in here which are called best features and worst features. If you don't like these questions, you can obviously delete them or you can edit them and change them to how you would like that to be. You'll see that all of ours here, we do have system questions as well as review questions. So just be cautious that you're not editing or deleting those ones on accident when you're trying to update your review questions. Your system questions or system fields, sorry, are more like individual fields on a reservation. Most common uses for things like bidding configuration that you might store on a booking, whereas review fields are obviously for the review form specifically. Cool. So we can edit these ones. You'll see that all of ours are rating is the type of question that we have. So they'll all be, you know, what's your overall score out of 5, value out of 5, cleanliness out of 5, that sort of thing. But you can actually have different types of review fields in here. So if we want to change the type, we could use text box, for example, which would be where they actually write their comments, what they would like to say about their stay. You can use checkbox, which would be something like a yes or no question, like would you be happy to stay here again, would be a checkbox. There's one that I really like, which is called select one or more. So if we change it to that one, this allows you to add some options for the guest to select. This is like what you see on Airbnb already, where they can say great communication, easy check-in, that sort of thing. Even Uber does this after you stay. It asks, like, would you like to compliment your driver? Great conversation, that sort of thing. So you can add in some options here that allows the guest to select what sort of compliments or feedback they're adding in their review. So you might have things like neat and tidy, great communication, because we learned it all from Tatiana on a webinar. That was lovely. So then you'll have all of these options in here. You can add multiple, but then the guest would be able to select whether they do want to tag their review, you know, to say, yes, it was neat and tidy. Yes, it was great communication. Yes, we would come back. Which, yeah, kind of leads them into that positive tags that you want to show on your listing, rather than something like your worst features, if you do have that, kind of leans in towards writing negative feedback, which they might not have done before. If they start thinking, oh, what was the worst feature? I suppose I didn't really like the color of the door. You know, so it's not really a great review question to have. You can have all of these, however you would like your review form to be. Cool. I won't save that one because obviously that's a rating. How was your stay out of 5? So save that one there. Obviously, if you make any changes here, just make sure to save that as well. I forgot to mention that you don't have to set all of these as mandatory. Ours are all as mandatory, but you could have optional fields for them to answer as well if you want to make it easier for them. You might just request the overall score and then make all of the other ones optional if they want to give extra feedback, for example. Cool. Now I mentioned that that is your default for your property. You can actually add specific booking fields to an area as well if you've got specific review questions for a property. It's less common, but you know, if you've got a really specific property that's got a lovely pool or something like that, you might want to add that in. Great. Now that we've actually looked at our correspondence journey and a couple of other things to hopefully gain some more reviews, let's look at what actually happens when we get reviews, how we can manage those in Homehero. So first thing to know is, where do your reviews actually appear? And there is a couple of places. So in your left-hand menu under Booking Engine and then Reviews, you do have all of your reviews in here. It will default here to your Guest Reviews tab, which is all of the reviews that your guests have left for you. And then you do have the new tab there, Host Reviews. So this is a reasonably new feature in Homehero where you can review your guests as well. This does have all of them, but there is two other places that your reviews will show. So if we go to listing directly, and then if we take a look at One Hope Island, for example, we can go to the reviews tab here, and this will show all of the guest reviews and host reviews for just this listing. If you're in here already, you can view them there. The other one is your dashboard. If you do have pending host reviews, so this is Airbnb guests that have departed that you haven't yet left a review for them, you will see your pending host reviews here. Just going to refresh that one there because I previously marked that guest as a bad guest and I hadn't refreshed. So this is your just your pending host reviews show on your dashboard so that you can quickly see, for example, if you get in the morning and you check over your arrivals for the day, you want to submit your reviews, that's all there on your dashboard. So I'll go back to the reviews page just because we can see everything from in there. I can show you a couple of other things. You'll see the booking source here on the right-hand side. I do have just a couple of examples here, Airbnb and booking.com, because usually in our demo account, we just have the direct and the website ones. Obviously, we don't have actual reviews there. Then you can see that each of these reviews are colored. So depending on their score, if they are obviously a good review, you're going to have green, but you will have yellow if they are 3 stars or less, orange if they're 2 stars or less, and red if they're 1 star or less. The other thing to note is booking.com reviews. They are usually rated out of 10 on booking.com, but obviously Airbnb is rated out of 5 and a lot of other places rated out of 5. So the booking.com ones do get converted. If you're seeing a 5-star for booking.com, that's 10 out of 10 on their side. So 4 would be an 8, that sort of thing. Now this review page doesn't yet include VRBO. It is only Airbnb, booking.com, and your direct or your website reviews in here as well. If you double click on any of these reviews, or if you use your green pencil to edit, you'll be able to see the full review details in here. So we can see this was Airbnb, overall rating was 5, and then the individual rating for each category. Also shows the obviously the comment that they've left and any private feedback here as well. You can reply to your guest reviews from within Homehero, and that will feed through to the OTA. Just note that it doesn't work the other way around. If you are reviewing on the OTA directly, it doesn't feed back to Homehero, so you won't be able to see that. It's best that your entire team is handling it from within Homehero so that you don't double handle those. So you'll be able to reply there. Once you have replied, you can view that from within Homehero as well. With booking.com, you can also reply. You'll see it's laid out slightly differently, but it's essentially the same. You can also reply. The only exception is if they don't leave a comment for you. If they do only leave you a rating, you won't be able to reply to those. But otherwise, you can do that through Homehero. Cool. A couple of other filters up the top here. You can filter by listing in case you want to do it that way rather than going into the listing directly. You can filter by source as well if you just want to see Airbnb, for example. You can filter by score if you want to see just your low scores or just your high scores, for example. You can filter whether the review has been replied to or not, so you can easily see which ones still need a reply. You can refresh in case there's new reviews that have come in, and you can reset your search in case you've put in filters here and need to clear them out. Now, the last one here is new review. So you can add reviews directly into Homehero. For example, if you have received one on your Google page, or maybe the guest has sent you a really nice email and they can't figure out how to review or something like that, you can add it directly in here as well. Depending on your website settings, your direct and website reviews might publish automatically. Otherwise, you might have them set up to be manually approved. So if you have got a review that's come in and it's not appearing on your website, I would recommend checking that first, that setting first. Otherwise, a common question that we get is why are my OTA reviews not showing on my website? So Airbnb, Booking.com reviews won't publish through to your website. The OTA doesn't allow you to republish them outside of their site. So you can view them in Homehero. You can have them all here, but otherwise just your direct and website reviews will go through to your website directly. Cool. So that is most of your guest reviews tab. We do then have the host reviews tab, which I mentioned is reasonably new. So you can now review your guests from within Homehero instead of doing it directly on Airbnb. Writing a review for your Airbnb guests can often prompt them to review you in return. So if you are aiming to get your review count up on Airbnb, this can be a really good way to do that. Not only that, but having, a solid history of your reviews and ratings can help your profile to look more trustworthy to future guests, as well as the Airbnb algorithm as well. So that can indirectly support higher booking conversions, rather than obviously it can directly influence that as well if guests are looking, but can indirectly by having a good history there of a lot of reviews on your profile. So if you've previously marked a guest as a bad guest, which we looked at earlier, you'll see that it's tagged here. So that way, if you are individually reviewing your guests, you'll be able to quickly see that and make sure that you don't leave them a 5-star glowing review for your experience with them. If you would like to individually review the guest, again, you can use your green pencil or double click to edit. In here, you'll see the guest details up the top and some quick links to their reservation. Now, because it's our demo account, we don't actually have a link to an Airbnb reservation, but yours would take you to your Airbnb profile. And this would take you to the Homehero reservation, in case you need to check anything there before you review them. Now, it gives you the options to leave those positive feedback or negative feedback, like I mentioned earlier, some pre-selected sort of tags. So you could tick these and then any negative ones if you want, and then go to the next option. So it'll go through each category. So communication, house rules, we don't want to leave any negative feedback there. And then the general feedback, which is where you can leave your public review comments and your private, which is optional, but your private feedback is just for the guest. It doesn't display on their profile for future hosts. And then you can choose whether or not you recommend them to other hosts. So this one is already available to submit your reviews individually, but obviously that can be quite time consuming if you do have a lot of reservations. So I won't submit that one. You would have seen here that you've got your bulk submit good guests. So if you'd like to set this up, there is some settings you'll need to do first, but that obviously is going to be a huge time saver to push out all of your reviews to all of your good guests that you've had. So to set that up, we first need to go into our settings. You will need to be a super user to set this up. So if you don't see settings in your left-hand menu, you probably need to check with someone else in your team to either give you access or to do this setup for you. Once we're in settings, it's under online bookings/quotes and then host reviews. Up the top here, you've got those tags that we looked at, your default positive ones. So when you are bulk pushing your guest review or host reviews, you're the host reviewing the guest, you can choose which tags are applied. Kept in good condition and respectful is the ones that we've got selected by default. You can then have your comments here, your public feedback and your private feedback. Now, instead of just having one bland template that goes out to every single guest, we do have 5 fields available so that it can cycle through those and keep a little bit of variety. You're not just saying, great guest, would host again. You can actually make it look a little bit more personal. So firstly, you can include your merge fields in here. So we've got first name and listing name. So that would populate with the appropriate details for each reservation. Just make sure you are using the merge fields from Homhero, not the ones that Airbnb provides, because they do provide merge fields on their end as well, but these are the Homhero ones. So you can either type all of these out manually, or you might only want 2 or 3 options, that's fine as well. Or you can actually generate responses with AI agent. So you would first need to enter one example of how you'd like your reviews to be worded, and then generate 4 more that will create similar ones based on the first one that you've done. You will need to have your AI agent enabled in Marketplace first, but that's nice and easy to set up as well. So if you'd like to do that and you need some help setting up on Marketplace, feel free to reach out. But once you've got that, you can just generate some responses. And you can do the same for private feedback as well. Obviously, once you've made those changes, just make sure to save down the bottom right as well. So now that I've got that set up, if I go back to my review page or even on my dashboard, because you can do it there as well, I would then be able to bulk submit my good guests. Now this will only do the ones that are not tagged as bad guests. So if I was to do this, I've only got 1 reservation. You might have quite a few in here, but it won't submit for this bad guest here. So we can do the same, bulk submit good guests. There we go. It's asking you to review those ones manually. We just want to continue with 1 good guest. And it's automatically tagged those in here. So I could just submit that review. You would have more reservations in here. Obviously, I've only got the 1 example, but that would submit to all of your good guests that are in there. Okay. If you still want to review your bad guest, you can do that manually, obviously, but not your bulk submit. Perfect. So hopefully that covered a lot of different areas in how you can improve and manage your reviews within Homhero. Just reminding you of our contact details as well. If you do need to reach out to us, we do have help articles on our knowledge base there, which we are working on creating more and more of those. If you have anything that you'd like an article created for, feel free to let us know. We're also working on doing obviously more of these webinars as well as short recorded videos that can be more helpful rather than just reading an article. Some people do prefer to watch the video. Again, let me know if there's something you would like to see specifically. We do also have a status page in case of any known scheduled maintenance or known service issues. Sometimes that is from external as well. If we get notified of a third party like a payment gateway having issues, for example, we will pop that on there if we know about it. So you can subscribe for updates there. And then, of course, all of the different ways that you can contact us. So you can reach us by phone. Our contact number is there. Live chat as well. When we're online in Homhero, you can click on the question mark icon to reach us via live chat. And then we've got our email addresses. So general Homhero support is support@homhero.com.au. If you've got a question that's specifically related to trust accounting, I will leave that to the ladies that know a lot more about it than I do. So you can reach them on support@hometrust.com.au. And any questions about your billing, your Homhero invoice can go to admin@homestar.com.au. Cool. And then my direct email there if you've got any questions specifically about this webinar, any suggestions for future webinars, please do let me know. I have got plenty of things I'd like to show you, but I'd like to make sure I'm doing the most helpful for what you guys need to see. So do let me know. Otherwise, this one will be recorded We'll send it out, I believe, tomorrow, as well as an article that's related. So in case you've got any team members that couldn't make it, feel free to send that along to them as well. Thanks so much, everyone. I'll see you on the next one.